What is up, guys? Welcome back to another installment of Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connections, a professional platform with an authentic twist. It's your girl, Charlene. I'm back at you again. This time, we're talking about policing Blackness, part 3. Tone policing. So, I don't know if you guys saw part 1. We talked about Willie Lynch. We talked about anti-Blackness and policing Blackness, part 1. In part 2, we talked about emotional well-being and safety. Yes, safety of people of color in environments. And today we are going to discuss tone policing, baby. Tone policing. But before I get into that, I have to make a couple of shout outs. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have my beautiful earrings, my Fight the Power earrings that my family bought for me. And it wouldn't be a Black and Beautiful Chit Chat Connection podcast if your girl wasn't sipping on something. Either I had my blueberry juice or my water or my coffee. Today I'm having tea, baby, in my blessed cup, which my family bought me. Shout out to Stacy. Thank you so much for supporting the platform. Thank you for your beautiful, wonderful gift. Look how gorgeous this is. Your girl is blessed, okay? Because I woke up this morning and the Lord said to me, you better go forth. Okay, go forth and live out your dreams. So I'm going to share that with somebody today. Whatever your testimony is, just know your testimony is for somebody else. Okay, your story, your life's journey is to encourage somebody else. Remember, you're not in this by yourself. Okay, so we are out here. We are educating people one righteous step at a time, because guess what? We love justice. We love equity, and we love righteousness on this platform. So thank you for joining us again. Shout out to Stacy. Thank you so much for your beautiful gifts that I get to flaunt on my platform. This is so great. Let me take a sip. Oh, the tea is hot. And you know what? I chose tea today because I said, tone policing is a conversation that is had within communities of color, right? Like, we all know what tone policing is. And quite frankly, some of us tone police ourselves. And when we tone police ourselves, honey child, you know what that's called? Code switching. And to be honest with you, because this is my platform and I don't have to conform to anybody's ideologies, we're just going to speak authentically here today, especially in tone policing, because do I get across better with you when I'm very articulate and I say all the words that are coming out of my mouth with every single syllable? Or do y'all feel me when I'm talking the way I'm talking? When I'm letting you know that me like my coffee and not the morning, okay? And that's why my family bought me some beautiful mugs. Me like my coffee and not the morning, okay? So you understand that. Now, with tone policing, it gets real tricky. Because as you can see, when I'm speaking very articulately and I'm pronunciating all of my syllables, right? I don't know if you guys ever remember when we were kids, if you wanted to know how many syllables were in a word, you put your hand under your chin. So Charlene, that's 2 syllables. Every time your chin went down, that's how many syllables you knew. So when I'm speaking like this, I want to make sure that all of my syllables are being said. But when we have a coffee in the morning, sometimes my chin may not go down, and you have to be able to keep up. But now when we're in a workspace and we are in the country of America, as I said, I like to stay in America because I am not global yet, but we are coming your way. Okay. Imana Barina Inc. is coming your way, coming to a global station near you. Nevertheless, anytime we are in a workspace in America, it is the automatic, thought that we must speak articulately the Queen's English. Matter of fact, not even the Queen's English, because my family's from the Bahamas and they speak the Queen's English. This English we speaking in America is some other English, but the American Standard English, we must speak that in order to be understood in places. And so, for example, I went to an entrepreneurial business meeting It was like a group of entrepreneurs. Obviously, I'm the only chocolate chip in the building. Yes, chocolate chip meaning the person who shows up black. Okay. I'm locked. I'm black. Obviously, I had hoops in my ears, and I'm sitting there, and we're having a conversation. As you can see, I said sitting instead of sitting. Right? Sometimes it comes out from New York City. Like I can't help it. There is a vernacular that people of color use. Nevertheless, I'm articulating my thoughts, and someone thought that it was their right to legit send me an inbox to tell me how well articulate I am and how far I'm probably going to go because of it. Now, Moama Coffee in the morning, that wanted to come out and be like, cause she's skunt, right? But I can't do that because obviously I'm networking and I'm trying my best to make white folks feel as comfortable as possible. Ugh, that's why I said today for this episode, I'm gonna be a little bit less formal with you because I want to get the point across that some of us are navigating spaces legitimately as a representative of who we are to ensure that while we're navigating spaces, the majority of people, thus white folks, feel comfortable with who we are. Now, we're going to go through some terms and I'm going to give you some examples because boy, don't I have a cadre of examples. And those examples literally stem from the stereotype of the angry Black woman trope. So when we talk about tone policing, there is theoretical background that tone policing was a way to keep Black women in check, right? So as you can see, I speak with my hands and I go back and forth through English and I put my little accent on it. And, we're not allowed to be that way. We must be this standard way. And tone policing is called the angry Black woman trope, is a tactic to silence Black women. Now, I'm going to use that as a theoretical framework to show us that tone policing is not only a tactic just for Black women, but it's a tactic for underrepresented groups and historically ignored groups in this country. And if we understand that at the fundamental, excuse my language, if we can understand that at its fundamental, then we can utilize our knowledge to try and stop tone policing or address it when it's happening. So let's get into it. I have two different definitions for tone policing. So tone policing is an ad hominem and an anti-debate tactic based on criticizing a person for expressing emotion. And tone policing detracts from the truth or falsity of a statement by attacking the tone in which it was presented rather than the message itself. Okay, so I'm going to say this part again. Tone policing detracts from the truth or falsity of a statement, right, by attacking the tone in which it was presented rather than the message itself. Now, I know you guys have seen that happen. How about we use Black Lives Matter? I feel like it's the perfect example of what tone policing looks like. We chant hashtag Black Lives Matter. As you can see in my beautiful earrings. I really love these earrings. I think they are so cute. Y'all like them? I mean, drop a little comment or something. Let me know if you think they're cute. Let me know if you guys know any other great places, any other vendors that we could shout out on this platform so other people can engage. Nevertheless, we shout Black Lives Matter, fist up. Tone policing says, but all lives matter. Detracting from the truth and talking about the tone in which it was presented. All lives matter, okay? Not only Black lives matter. And never addressing the message itself. That Black lives have to matter because at this moment, they're non-existent. in the eyes of white supremacy? Did that pass over your head? I thought that was, I honestly, I honestly don't understand all lives matter. At its core, I feel like it's just a response to Black Lives Matter. Like, I don't think it actually holds any weight, because Black Lives Matter is not saying that all lives don't matter. Black Lives Matter is addressing a systemic issue in this country. Just like Colin Kaepernick, our boy Colin, man, love me some Colin. Colin went out here and took a knee, bruh. Took a knee at the national anthem. Oh, he's disrespecting veterans everywhere. First of all, thank you to all of our veterans who have fought for this country in many different ways and have been at numerous agencies that provide protection for the American people. Shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for your service. We respect you. But the American flag is not synonymous with a veteran. The American flag is national. It's a nationality. It's to show solidarity for a country. And so for someone to say that a Black man addressing the inequity in that solidarity of nationalism to be a response, a disrespect to a veteran is absolutely absurd. I mean, and I feel like because we live in such an age where technology just allows us to swipe past things, and we have 5-10 minutes to process it, talk about it with our friends, or post a comment or hit the like button. Once you do that, it's done, you move on. But Colin Kaepernick's knee and Black Lives Matter it's still happening. We're still addressing these issues today. Like, they haven't gone anywhere. So like I said, I don't understand all lives matter, because Black Lives Matter is not saying that all lives don't matter, first and foremost. And I don't understand a disrespect to the flag. A disrespect to veterans because someone took a knee at the inequities of the nationalism in this country. Furthermore, what's the Senator, because I don't know why I have Chuck Schumer in my head. It's not Schumer. Oh, Lord, let me look up the senator, because Mitch McConnell. How could I forget that? Senator Mitch McConnell just recently made a statement that voting concerns are misplaced because Black Americans are voting just as much as Americans. Tell me how you really feel, Mitch. Now, Mitch been problematic. I mean, I don't know how that man's still in office, but he's been problematic for a lot of things. But it's like he really let the cat out of the bag with that one. The man said Black African Americans are voting just as much as Americans. So is an African American or someone with some melanin in their skin, flexing their complexion, they're not American? So my social security number doesn't matter. My passport doesn't matter. The fact that I was born here doesn't matter. The fact that I'm a consumer here doesn't matter. I'm not American because I'm African American, because I'm Black. And first of all, sir, you are using the wrong terminology. No, you know what? Let me stop. I take that one back, guys. I take that one back. Because if you want to address yourself as African American, so be it. I'm chuckling because also with that, a recent CNN correspondent called Elon Musk an African American. And he wasn't wrong, because Elon Musk is from South Africa. And he migrated to this country, which makes him an African American. So was Mitch McConnell talking about him too? Oh my God, so many questions. So many questions. Listen, drop a comment. I hope you guys, we have to make light of some of this, right? Because some of it is just ridiculousness and it just needs to be addressed. So nevertheless, right? Those are some examples. Let me give you another definition of tone policing. It's defined as a controversial tactic that dismisses the ideas being communicated when they are perceived to be delivered in an angry, frustrated, sad, fearful, or otherwise emotionally charged manner. I just want you guys to let that sink in. And I was going to give an example, but I'm going to go into the next definition, which is gaslighting. So gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or a group covertly sows seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or group, making them question their own memory, perception, and judgment. So tone policing and gaslighting go hand in hand, in my opinion. As a Black woman navigating the workspace, I have been gaslit and tone policed over and over and over again. So, for example, I was the go-to person at an institution for what diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives look like. They were going through a comprehensive training on understanding whiteness and white supremacy as a lens. Now, they would come to me and secretly ask me about my opinions, about the training, and about strategically after the training, where would this training go? What kind of initiatives could they work on to ensure that the work was ongoing work? So I made an observation that while I personally was in the training, I felt very triggered because a white woman was standing before me, right? Talking about whiteness, white supremacy, and its lens, and providing context through a white lens and centering whiteness while she was doing it. It was very triggering for me, especially when white folks are learning that they white in the first place. I didn't have the option to not know that I was Black. As soon as I was born, the doctor slapped me on my butt and it was like, little Black girl. I was in a room full of white folks who did not know they were white. There was a woman, she was in her 60s. She started crying. She was like, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I'm realizing that I'm white. Now, cool, you got to go through it. She's on the journey. But there were no reinforcements for people of color in that type of environment. There was no support system, right? Which would provide people of color the opportunity to detach themselves from that piece, right? While white folks are learning about what white is and what whiteness is and what privilege is and what systemic oppression is, a person of color being there and being forced to be there because it was like a go to this training or you can't, I don't know. It was like, it was voluntold. It just wasn't conducive to my emotional, mental, and physical well-being. And so I brought that up as a feedback. Perhaps you need another person of color in the room to work with the people of color while white people are working through what they're working through. Now, the way I got this tactic, right, or this strategy was because I am a trained anti-racist. 3 times, by the way, I think 4. I've gone through anti-racism training on multiple times at different organizations because there are different strategies. And so being 3-time trained, I understand the duality of spectrums when it comes to people understanding this type of knowledge, right? Why did this white man say to me, yeah, that's cool and everything. I understand you're emotional about it and you feel traumatized, but white people don't listen to Black people anyway. Now, that's how I heard it. Of course, he did not say it like that because I just had a whole New York accent, whatever. He did not say it. Like, he used every syllable that he can say. Well, I understand you're very traumatized right now. And he talked like that to me, right? I heard him on multiple, I heard Charlie Brown. Let's put it like that. And not only did he tone police me, but he gaslit me into believing that I don't have a voice as a person of color in this moment. And even though he had the power to provide people of color with a voice, even though he had the power to create a system and a structure to ensure that people of color were not traumatized in these trainings, he decided not to because he felt like people of color were not worth the time. He was focused on white folks moving through that space. And since Black folks or people of Latino folks or Asian folks have already been traumatized, what's another 2-3 hours of their trauma. Tone policing and gaslighting. It's disgusting and it needs to stop. And I just see, look, you see, I just got triggered. So now someone could watch this and say, I just really feel like you could have said that in a more calm way so that I could have understood it. What you're doing is you're negating that person's feelings. You're saying that their feelings don't matter because you don't want to feel what they're feeling right now. So they need to calm down to communicate with you. It's not right. Let me give you a quote from Layla Saad. Layla F. Saad, Me and White Supremacy. If it's anything you do, pick up that book. Pick up that book, man. That book, whew, I mean, it has created some change. I have seen it. I have gone through it twice, and I did it once by myself and once with a group of people. To me, I feel like it's great to go through it with a group of people. But even if you do it on your own, you're going to learn some things. You're going to unpack some things. You're going to deconstruct to reconstruct. All right. So she talks about tone policing in her book, and I have a quote from her. Quote, imagine, if you will, experiencing an act of violence and then being asked to talk about what you experienced without expressing any strong emotions. This is clearly inhumane. To be human is to feel. To talk about pain without expressing pain is to expect the human to recall information like a robot. When you insist that BIPOC talk about their painful experiences with racism without expressing any pain, rage, or grief, you are asking them to dehumanize themselves. I repeat, when you insist that a BIPOC talk about their painful experiences with racism without expressing any pain, rage, or grief, you are asking them to dehumanize themselves. I cannot stress that anymore. And this very quote speaks to what I do in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to humanize the experience for people. Far too many people in this country believe that people of color should not have feelings, believe that people who come from underrepresented groups should not feel grief, rage, they should just walk around and be happy that they get to be in America. It's inhumane. It's not decent. You are not a decent human being if you believe that somebody shouldn't have rage or grief. Now, when you take my trainings, I put you through some rage and grief so you can feel what that feels like. And then we unpack it. Okay, so I have some workshops coming up. I have a 3-part series. We're going to do terminology, we're going to do frameworks, and we're going to do application. And I want you guys to take some time and sign up for the workshop if you believe that this is something that you could benefit from. Not only that, share it with your friends. Share this video, share this platform with your friends. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Get us through the algorithm so people could engage in this type of conversation. But I'll go back. When you're asking someone, right? And we'll say someone, anyone, but in particular, people of color or people who come from historically ignored groups, not to show any pain, rage, or grief when they are explaining to you their lived experiences, because that makes you feel uncomfortable. You're treating them as if they're not human. So I'm sorry, white men who told me white people don't listen to Black people. You made me feel like you didn't think I was a human. But you turn around, to the hypocrite, you turn around and ask me for my advice. And I know that there are so many people that I talk to, so many individuals, professionals who are feeling this same way. There are DEI professionals all over this country talking about this. Do not dehumanize my experience and then turn around and ask me for my advice when you want to check off that DEI box, okay? What am I gonna do? Like, baby, put some respect on my name, period. And like I said, I'm gonna be a little laid back today because I have to show you what it looks like in practice. It is infuriating to be in a space where you are seen as subhuman, but then you're appropriated as subhuman. My hair, my nails, you like my lipstick, you like my hair, you like my earrings. Next day, I see you wearing all the things I'm wearing. You're listening to the music I'm listening to. You want to be just like me, but you hate me deep down inside. How hypocritical are you? I'll give you another example. Black woman, me, all white school. No, I won't say all white, predominantly white institution. My manager was very concerned about how white people would perceive me. Now, this is a woman of color. Now, y'all know, let me sip this tea, because this is some tea I'm about to drop. Now, y'all know, when somebody come to you with foolishness, I mean, and you a real person, and you don't play no games, somebody come to you with foolishness, you like. So I legit had to go home and think about this for a couple of days. Example. I'm very concerned with how white people are going to perceive you. Would you like to elaborate on that? Now, this is before I had locks. So your girl was a loose natural, right? Curly hair sometimes, straight sometimes, wig sometimes, box braids sometimes. Child, I had a different hair for every outfit. I was really, that was a lot. It was really a lot. I had a different hairstyle for each outfit, okay, that I would wear for the week. So I was very, hair always done, edges always laid, makeup always baked, okay? I didn't play no games. I'm from New York City. We cute, all right? I want to be cute. I will wear hoops, top knot buns, box braids, wigs sometimes. And so I asked her, could she elaborate? Well, I just feel like, your earrings and your appearance and like how you look, you look very urban. So in my mind, I'm like, that's the point. The point is I am urban. Call it urban chic, okay? Why in Milan, or why on New York Fashion Week, or why in Miami Fashion Week, or whatever fashion week there is, urban chic could walk down the runway as long as it's painted up with a white body or a white passing body. But as soon as an urban chic person walks into a white environment, now all of a sudden there's a concern from my own people. Not only did she try to tone police me, but she also tried to dress me, and I did not like that. Oh, you need to learn when to speak up and when not to speak up. Miss, you don't own my mouth. I speak up when I feel like it. I'm in your face. If I hear something and it doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna beg the question. And I'm gonna repeat it back to you because I want you to hear the ridiculousness you just said. Especially when it comes to the protection of our young people. Now, I was in an environment that was extremely violent to people of color, extremely violent, and they knew it was violent and they did nothing about it. So I spoke up every chance I got. But that's me. Like I said, in Fight the Power, you have to know where your voice is. My voice is loud and I'm boisterous and loud. I've been like that since I was a kid. Now I see why, because I'm advocating on behalf of other people. So she tone policed me in that moment, trying to dress me and silence me. Excuse me, I don't know you like that. We're not friends. And you know something, the crazy thing about it is like, I mean this with the most sincerity. Do you know that between she and I, the white folks were concerned about her more than they were concerned about me? They would come to me and ask me, how you working with her? She comes to work and she never looks professional. No one ever questioned my professionalism because of my door knockers, i.e. hoops, and my top knot buns. I look clean, I look presentable, and I understand how to articulate myself. You hired a Black person, me. And when I was in my interview, I said, if y'all not looking for somebody who's authentic, do not hire me straight like that. So when they hired me, they knew what they were getting. So why are you tone policing me right now? Why are you policing the way that I look and the way that I dress? And go somewhere with that. It's inhumane. Stop it. All you people who are engaging in it, stop it. It's easy to stop. This is something that's extra easy. This is easier than microaggressions to me. At least a microaggression, you got to change a person's lens. With tone policing, you just need to be a decent human being and let that person express themselves the best way that they know how, especially when they've engaged in trauma. So let's talk about conditional support. All right, I'm going to sip some more tea. I hope y'all feeling me today because I have been tone policed so much. It's exhausting. It is exhausting. I mean, I can give you example after example, but we're going to go into conditional support and then I'll give you an example after that. Because today we're not going to spend too much time on tone policing. I just want us to understand that policing Blackness is multi-pronged. So we talked about anti-Blackness, just the foundation of what anti-Blackness is in terms of where it came from. Where did the lens come from? We talked about emotional well-being and safety. How does that lens cause a physical, emotional, and mental reaction to people who are under that amount of pressure, under that amount of oppression? And now we're talking about a way, right, that anti-Blackness and policing Blackness manifests itself in tone policing. So we're going to talk about conditional support. So conditional support is choosing to only support an individual, a group, or a cause if they behave in a predetermined manner, right? So this is the opposite of unconditional support. So for those people who are like, oh, I don't know why they have to riot. I don't know why they have to harm things and break down communities, but Black Lives Matter though. Either you're gonna support the whole movement or you're not. Let me give you an example of that. I remember when I was in high school, I was in a history course and our professor had us write an essay. We had to write a report on who was needed more during the civil rights movement, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. Now, this is triggering in itself because there were so many freedom fighters during the civil rights movement that are named and unnamed, and who are we to say only Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were the two that were doing all the work? They were the faces of a lot of the work, so we use them as an example, but please, by no means are we negating all of the people who lost their lives, gave their lives, dedicated themselves to the liberation of people of color in this country. By no means. By no means. That was bothering me. So in my essay, I was supposed to argue, on my report, I was supposed to argue one or the other, but I couldn't. I legit wrote an essay stating that I believe both of them were equally important. Martin Luther King had the people who were nonviolent and wanted to move legislation and so on and so forth. And Malcolm X was the militant. There are so many, and my reasoning for choosing that is because there are so many different personalities out there. There's so many different types of people with different walks of life. And the way that they express themselves is not the same as yours. So you get to choose who you want to support, but the civil rights movement is a civil rights movement. So the Black Lives Matter movement is the Black Lives Matter movement, regardless of whether you mad that they're burning stuff in the streets or you're upset that they're on Capitol Hill trying to get legislation passed. You have to pick your own poison. And it's not up to us to put people in categories and boxes. You can't have conditional support for the liberation of people of color in this country. You don't get to have that. You don't get to straddle the line. There's a scripture in the word. I don't mean to bring this to the word, but I'm not trying to compare our worldly issues with a holy sovereign God. So please don't get this mixed up. I'm just going to give you an example of how God sees people who stand on the fence, right? God said either you're hot or you're cold. If you are lukewarm, he said he'll spew you out of his mouth. Meaning that he don't have respect for that lukewarm stuff. Choose one side or the other. Either you're going to give the whole support or you not. Because that conditional support, that looks really, really shaky. It looks lazy. It looks like you actually don't stand for anything. It's more like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So I'm encouraging you, don't give conditional support, bruh or bruv. Don't give conditional support. Choose a side. Now, as for me, I believe that legislation needs to be passed. I believe that liberation of people of color in this country needs to happen. I believe that equitable and righteous practices need to be upheld. I personally will not go and vandalize a business or burn something up. That's not my personal choice, but I will stand on Capitol Hill if I have to. Or I will train these organizations to understand what equity and righteousness is. I'm going to use my lane to do that. And if your lane is that you about to go tear up somebody's stuff, you got to deal with the consequences that come with that. That's another thing. I could have an opinion about it, but you have to deal with the consequences. And I understand that burning up your own communities, there's a lot of things. It's not right. It's not, you know what I mean? I understand all of that. All I'm saying is make a choice whether you're going to support it or not. At the end of the day, I might disagree with rioting and vandalism, but I support liberation of people of color in this country, however it got to come. I mean, look at France. France is known for, they burn up stuff every time they government get out of line. The people them act crazy. Go do your history. France is about that life. France is a country, they don't play with their legislators. If they want something to move in that country, they will do any and everything to make sure that their government understands that they run the show. The people run the show, not the government. So if you do your history, you'll see that there are a lot of other countries that engage in this type of behaviors. It's not just America. There are other countries that coup. There are other countries that speak out and use some violence to get their point across. I'm not saying that is right. I'm not here. I'm not God. I can't say right from wrong in this position. But we're not the only country, and Black folks are not the only people who do it. So it's like, learn your history, learn your global history, understand the ways of humankind. When people don't like something, they want to overthrow it. There are people, your brothers and sisters, who are living next to you and in the town next to you, in the country, in the state across from you, that are being harmed in this country, and they're tired of it. Period. I'll leave you with one last thing. If you want to stop tone policing, you're going to have to speak up for yourself too, and you're going to have to speak up when injustices happen. So if you see someone being tone policed, okay, perhaps, and you are a person, you are a white person, and you're like, man, I know what tone policing is. You know, I watched that podcast one day, and I think this is it. I think this is what tone policing is. Stop it in the moment. Excuse me. You know, there is a term called tone policing, and it negates the person's lived experience. And I feel like you might be doing that right now. So I want to make sure, am I right? Am I wrong? And break it up in a moment. Don't send that email later on saying, oh, you know, Charlene, I really feel like you were being tone policed. And I just don't agree. Why are you telling me that? Go tell Todd that. Or John or Bill or Amy, whoever did the tone policing, Tanya, whoever did the tone policing, tell them that. Don't tell Charlene, who was harmed by it, right? And so let me do the angry Black woman trope. I thought I was done, but then I just realized the angry Black woman trope that I had mentioned in the beginning of how to silence Black women and where the foundation of tone policing came from. So in the aftermath of slavery and the resulting social, economic, and political effects, Black women have become the victims of negative stereotyping in mainstream American culture. And so such stereotypes include the myth of the angry Black woman that characterizes these women as aggressive, ill-tempered, illogical, overbearing, hostile, and ignorant without provocation. So the angry Black woman trope is a way to silence Black women, right? While gaslighting them and tone policing them into not expressing the traumas that they themselves experience or the traumas that they take on from their families. Because don't forget, Black women are Black and navigate in these spaces, but then they're creating little Black babies and they have Black husbands who are also experiencing all of this trauma. And so as a woman who's nurturing and caring and wants to take care of her family, she's going to take on all of that. And so Black women are not just speaking about themselves, we're speaking about our communities. That's why you're feeling the anger, the rage, the heightened voice go up an octave. She's representing her community. You guys got to understand this. You have to understand this. If you want to be a better person, if you want to engage in righteousness and equity, you have to understand that when people are expressing their emotions due to their harm, you allow them to express that and you allow them to let you know how they felt about that, then you take it and you assess it. It cannot be a, oh, you're accusing me or you're harming me or it makes me feel uncomfortable. It's not about you in that moment. It is about that person and their trauma and the harm that was inflicted on them. Humanize the experience. So I'm going to leave you with this because this is the last thing. I had a meeting and a question was asked. What do you tell a group of white men who want to engage in DEI work? Rich white men. Group of rich white men who want to engage. What are the top three things? My response was, one, ask for help, right? So if I know that you are a rich white man and you have power and influence in the tech industry, you are looked to as the expert in the tech industry, right? So if I needed help in tech, where am I going? To this rich white man who has power and influence, correct? Okay, awesome. So ask for help. If you need DEI help, go to the DEI experts, which most likely will be a person of color. I mean, there's some other DEI, some white DEI folks out there too. Go ask them too. But most likely, you will see a person of color in a position discussing DEI. They will be the expert. Why? Because they have theoretical and personal experience as their practice. They're actually living out what you're looking for. That's the first thing. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Go to the experts. The second thing that I said was, what are your goals? What are your goals as an organization, as a professional? What are you looking to gain from engaging in DEI work? What does that look like for you personally, professionally, organizationally, right? And the last thing I can tell the rich white man who's looking to do DEI work is humanize the experience. i.e., don't tone police people. Listen to what they're saying. Understand that they're human beings navigating this human experience just like you are. Get out of yourself, right? We all need to get out of ourselves. We need to understand, like, in order for us to effectively and efficiently do DEI work, we have to literally empathize with other people and put ourselves in their shoes. Because we don't know someone else's lived experience. We only know our own. So we let those people speak for themselves. We let those people share their grievances or share their accomplishments with us in a way that allows for them to express all of the emotions that come with that. Humanize the experience, guys. Just remember, if you're tone policing, you're dehumanizing somebody. Cut it out. Cut it out. You're an adult. Cut it out. Remember when we were kids? Your parents were like, cut that out. Cut it out. You're an adult. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you think, you're an adult. Stop tone policing people. You don't own people, okay? We have moved away from that. We do not own people. We don't own their emotions. We don't own the way that they think, the way that they speak, the way that they act. They're allowed to express themselves in the way that they want to express themselves, just like you can. And we'll go into this more because I centered the experiences of people of color in this moment. Okay, that's what I'm going to do on this platform. Center the experiences of people of color. Now, I'm not negating that white folks might feel tone police sometimes. I'm not, but we're centering the people of color in this moment. People who come from historically ignored communities. Shout out to everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week, right? Where we talk about some more stuff. Season 1 is almost over. I think we're like 4 episodes away. I can't believe it. I'm so happy we're on this journey. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, hit that subscribe button. Share this with a friend, family member, colleague, coworker. Doesn't matter. Share this. Help us get through the algorithm, because we're doing the work of righteousness and equity one step at a time, guys. One step at a time. We love you. May heaven smile upon you, and, be in good graces with the Lord, because this is a Christian platform. Link tree below. Pick your poison. Follow us on all of our social media sites. We have a newsletter. Check us out. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good one. Peace and love.